teacher go to school?
And here's your...
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason moron.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink eye? Is this what pink eye is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
Please go outside and look at the mini quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
But I ain't spending any time on it.
Welcome to the Conditional Release Program, a podcast that delves into the netherworld of cults, crims and con artists. I'm Jack the Insider, otherwise known as Peter Hoisted for tax purposes.
And I'm Joel Hill, and today we've got erections.
No. Elections, Joel.
Oh, elections.
US, UK. In fact, It's a huge year for elections all around the world. And it's not looking good for anyone who fears Donald Trump, POTUS number 45, becoming POTUS number 47.
Yeah.
We're going to take a look at the horror show that was the first US presidential election debate to see where it all might lead.
Yes, it's all a bit fucking ambiguous at the moment. But we do have cookers doing cooker stuff, as they want to do. And it's
yes, that's what they do.
Funny and sad. Equal parts.
And a bloke who was before the courts on serious charges who made a play with the sovcits card but really was a sad, gibbering paranoid who got put away for the safety of the rest of us.
Yes, and thank fuck for that. But as we'll discuss later, probably not long enough. And just a quick reminder, CBCO are tirelessly making delicious beer, and it's very important that you buy some. If they go out of business, I lose a sponsor. So it's very important that you know they've given us a discount code.
And I won't have T-shirts to wear.
No, exactly. This man will be walking around shirtless, and trust me, you want fucking nothing to do with that.
Yeah, no one wants that.
CRP10 at checkout will give you 10% off their already very decent prices, and they have free shipping, so it's not bloody bad. Just go and buy some fucking beers. And as a side note, their IPA is, in my opinion, better than a crankshaft. And I know you're all going to get pissy about that because you love your fucking crankshaft, but the IPA is genuinely fucking good. I've done side by side with the yellow tin. It's punchier, it's hoppier, it's better. I'm sorry. But for those who aren't into strong stuff, you can get a pale ale or whatever. The Goldie's kind of nice. I haven't one now. It's pretty good. Yeah. Nice lager.
Drink irresponsibly, people.
Can we get sued for that?
This sponsor better improve, by the way, Joel, or we're going to have to go with Huawei, who you drew my attention to last night, Joel. No relation to Huawei.
No.
Maybe there is.
Maybe.
And these fine people, Huawei, can smuggle pretty much anything in or out of Australia with what they call strong customs clearance ability.
Mm-hmm.
We really do need these people, Joel.
Oh, yes, we do. We do have beer for now, Jack. We can rest on our laurels.
Yeah, it'll have to do until my meth habit really gets out of control.
Okay, so for those who are wondering what the fuck we're on about here, go to the shitposting site and I'll post a picture of one of the more interesting Facebook ads I've seen in my time. To put it delicately,
beauty.
We are going to get a container ship of meth and vapes and sell the lot to high school kids. So, that's where the money is. So
we're not going to be street level guys, Joel.
I'm selling it to kids. What are you? I'll sell it to that Leo kid. He's got heaps of money, right? That one on Twitter. So look, I'm just going to say some get rich through inheritance, scams, or actual hard work and smart decisions. Yeah. We plan to get rich through the classic Australian business model, which is middlemen to sketchy imports from China. Just tap that shipping container and pass a paper bag over to the cops. But in the meantime, while the ship is in transit, is a quick reminder that this show is free, but it comes at a cost, a hard cost. And you can help the cost burden by joining our Patreon. So go to www.patreon.com/the Conditional Release Program, or just fucking Google it or whatever.
And for as little as $5 a month, you can enjoy all sorts of bonus content, black label apps and Zoom hookups, me with my shirt off.
Yes,
and those Zoom hookups where we really do lay the bullshit on pretty thick.
Yeah, it was good. It was good fun last night.
We've got a big program to get through, so let's get on with it and kick the show off with the Conditional Release Program's news.
Now, I've got to kick off the episode with a bit of a correction from the last episode on digital ID. And while I've cut the offending part out of the episode, as it was incorrect, I took a fairly firm swipe at a story posted by Maria Z. She's known for posting things that aren't full of shit. And about come on. About a cooker Sparky complaining he had to get a digital ID in order to renew his license.
We poo-pooed the idea at the time, didn't we, Joe?
Absurd. How could it possibly be the case? Laughable. Yeah. So, fellow Sparky and listener, Michael Brown messaged me after listening and filled me in on the situation. Bless your heart, Michael. You really saved my ass a bit on that one because no one else mentioned it. The cookery quota is not actually entirely wrong. Kind of wrong, but not entirely wrong. Now, I'm going to run through this and we'll get that done. And now this will be ancient history. The whole point of the post was that the Sparky kicked up a stink and the Electrical Safety Office sent in the paperwork to dodge a digital ID requirement. He won! Basically saying, this is the thing. If you fight back, you'll win this battle against digital ID. And I figured he was a bit of a fucking numpty because you could just download a form from Fair Trading New South Wales or head into a Service New South Wales outlet to get it sorted. And that was massive fucking laziness on my part because the Electrical Safety Office is a Queensland institution. Yes, he is a cane toad. That's right. There we go.
Queenslander.
So, look, they are pushing Sparkies, young and old, to sign up for the dreaded MyGov ID in order to do the exam to renew their license. That is absolutely happening. I've been through it with Michael, and it's fucking obnoxious. So, while I think digital ID is a good thing all round, a large part of my issue with cookers kicking up a stink about it is that it prevents the private sector from being able to spend less money on cybersecurity because they have to maintain these ridiculous legacy systems to keep cookers happy. And that means that I'm more likely to get data breached. They are, but fuck them. This is problematic. You know, Optus 2.0 is just around the corner, and this sort of shit is going to keep it happening. So the issue here is that it's been legislated that it's going to be voluntary, and a promise is a promise, and you can't fucking break those. Well, you can, but you shouldn't. So the Electoral Safety Office in Queensland is pretty fucking adamant that you get the digital ID to do the exam. And while you can call the office to work around it somehow, they don't offer an easy solution, and all roads lead to MyGov ID. If I was an actual journalist, I would have called them up and found out and got some comment, but I didn't. Yes, cookers and Luddites should get their act together. Old Sparkies who don't know fuck about computers will find this be a giant pain in their ass, and I sympathise with them because their concerns are genuine. It's not just cookers who have problem with digital ID. It's people who are shit at computers as well. I mean, a lot of very sane people find computers very hard, and that is fine. I mean, look, you know, if things are optional, it's fine. You don't need to apply for that home loan, but you need to get your fucking Sparkies license. So the reason I believe the digital ID was a federal system is because the explanatory memorandum for the bill stated that a purpose for the bill being passed was to enable it to be used by the states. But it's already being used by the states. So that's a bit fucking weird. There's like Victorian debt recovery people and stuff.
Look, one of the legislated additions, amendments, was that it is voluntary. I mean, that's stipulated. So the states are getting a little bit crazy about this, and you can tell them where to get off. That's my view.
Yeah, I think they can get fucked on this one. So, look, I will say this very reluctantly. The cookers got this one right, like half right at least.
Not even a half right, Joel. They got about 1% of it right.
Well, I'd give them more credit than that because insofar as I got it so fucking glaringly wrong.
Yeah, well, that's you.
They got it more right than I did. So I'm going to give them credit for that. And look, another huge thanks to Michael Brown for pointing that out. But not only pointing it out, but explaining it to me and going through the process and, basically just helping me learn the travails of a Queensland Sparky. So at the Conditional Release program, we are always happy to correct something on record if it's wrong and appreciate the chance to do that here in public, groveling to you. That's what separates us from the cookers. But the general point remains. The digital ID bill does not expand government power for shit. It's a convenience thing, and it's going to save banks primarily a shitload of money in fraud and compliance. It's not a surveillance state thing. It's pandering to banks and business, which is, of course, the real purpose of government.
It's the only
it's what they're there for, right? And the mining and banks, cool. So the government already has face matching systems they choose not to use. There's a bill behind it, and the whole fucking thing's already there. Cookers didn't even notice. And if they want to hurt us like cattle, the MyGov ID is going to do fuck all to help. So their tantrum is still pointless. But if they say it's voluntary, then they shouldn't do a sneaky and make it mandatory for some things, or at least make it hard not to.
Yeah.
That's a slippery slope.
Agreed.
And I don't like that.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, good. I mean, I think I'm right now.
I couldn't agree more, firstly, that you were wrong. I couldn't agree more with that. but also agree that the states can't put this stuff on and say, look, you don't have to. It's not compulsory, but it's really, really hard for it to be for you to go any other way.
You don't have to be a Sparky. You can just go and find a new job. And that's unfortunately what these fuckers said, which is that it would become voluntary like the jab. And this is such an example of that. It's that thing of like, it's not mandatory, but like, hey, find a new career, right? So look, I'm just going to say, tut tut Queensland, be better, keep your promises, and don't be dicks. I mean...
Yeah, bit of state government out of control there, stuff there, and let's face it, they won't be around much longer, Joel.
Yes, I don't think
the current mob.
I don't think the Liberals are going to change
it. It means the mob are coming to replace them probably going to be a lot worse.
Yes.
But there is bigger news around the world. Funnily enough, other than Joel being wrong, there is other news.
Well,
and the
second on the fucking page, of course.
And last week, of course, we had the first of the US presidential debates in the very early month of June. It ended, and it might also have brought an end to Joe Biden's candidacy. He's hanging on, but the statements from senior Democrats are very much the ones AFL fans will hear when the club president says he supports the club coach 100%.
Oh, yeah, he's got my full
100% behind him.
Oh, mate, team wouldn't be the same without him.
A little bit of background. Trump's approval rating, so we're just talking about the two doddery old men, to be honest. His approval rating hit 23% in January 2021. I think that's a record low. Good. So that's January 6 stuff right there. So he hit 23%. He was, for most of his presidency, he was in the high 30s to low 40s, so not great either. And Joe is rolling along at 36% approval at the moment. Both men are about as popular as root canal. And in keeping with their unpopularity, no audience was present at the debate. It's like, even if you're handing out tickets for this, no one would have turned up.
Yeah,
but some journalists were angered at having the door closed sharply in their faces by CNN, who basically just said, this is all our show. You can simulcast it.
Yeah, you can watch on fucking telly.
Show.
Yeah.
So no journalists were allowed in, and journalists were forced to petition. A group of them were forced to petition CNN, and CNN said, "Get fucked." Petition? Wipe my ass with your petition.
Yeah, that's good news for it.
Anyway, the age issue reared throughout the debate, and almost always to the detriment of Biden, whose performance will only have amplified the concerns about his competence to serve in the White House ongoing. Biden stumbled and fumbled. He babbled incoherently and was struck dumb when Trump, called on to reply to his successor, said, "I really don't know what he said." This is my best Trump. Sorry, folks.
Nice.
I don't think he knew what he was saying either.
No,
it was like, oh, yeah, that's got to hurt.
It did hurt a lot. I felt it in my veins.
Yeah, when questions finally were asked of Biden's age and competence, he reflected on his achievements in his early days in politics, which made his present and short-term political future seem somehow to diminish a little bit further.
Yeah, so the debate ended as it does, with quite a lot of old men in argument about their golf handicaps.
Yeah,
which was a bizarre.
Trump just couldn't have that Biden was playing off 6 when he was Veep, and to be honest, neither can I.
Well, it turns out Biden was actually playing off 8, which he corrected himself in a very strange, stumbling moment where
8's still pretty good.
Oh, yeah, fucking amazing. But the great part of that conversation was that it culminated in Trump, of all people, saying, "Let's not act like children."
It's the only time Trump got really animated.
Yeah.
Golf.
Really? Yeah. Once you mention golf, it gets very fucking excited.
Couple of old blokes at a country club.
Isn't that fucking sad? And, of course, this is the classic from Trump. He uttered the usual caveat that he would accept the result of the vote on the 5th of November only if he deemed it to be fair.
And by fair, he means only if he wins. If he loses, 100%. Well, obviously it's rigged, and we go around all that ugliness again.
Exactly. So Biden is old, and that's that side. Trump lied, and I mean Trump lied as much as Biden is old. If Trump's lying age was measured with some sort of carbon dating thing, it would be a fucking millennium.
Liars.
Oh man, the guy is like a vampire.
The difference. I think he long ago
pathological issue.
Yeah, it is. He's
Yeah,
a
his
pathological
brain's fucked.
liar.
Yeah, no, it's quite terrifying. So there are no surprises there. We both know, well, we all know this is just his fucking MO. But fuck me, congratulating himself for his treatment of veterans during his administration was one of the worst of the mistruths because it's just so fucking, like, offensive. I mean, Trump, having made savage cuts to Medicaid during his presidency, standing up there like he'd fucking done the veterans proud, left more than 60% of US veterans paying more for their healthcare. Fuck you, man.
And just to go off on a tee, look, that was terrible, and that was something that I was able to check in real time. But Trump lies so often, and this is the problem with the debates, not just with Trump, but with anyone, is that when you seek to fact check this stuff, it can't really be done in real time. No, certainly not when Trump's lying his tits off, and so you're only going to get all this stuff. So Trump can just lie all his way through there, and I'll go on to say that it was a pretty self-assured sort of performance from him. But he just lied all the way, and it's only 2, 3, 4 hours later that you read the New York Times or the Washington Post or Politico, and it comes up saying, we fact-checked Donald Trump, and by that stage it's all over. It's all gone, and there's little mileage to be made.
This debate is the absolute epitome of it's not what you say but how you say it. Trump confidently said that Joe Biden was a bad Palestinian. No one cares because he said it with such confidence. And I tell you what, Joe Biden is a fucking terrible Palestinian. If I couldn't think of many worse Palestinians. Imagine other Palestinians seeing Joe in the street in Gaza and being like, bro, you're still sending weapons to Israel?
I'm not having that shit about your golf handicap, by the way.
But like no one gives a shit that Trump called him a fucking bad Palestinian, then like doubled up with like one of the worst Palestinians ever. It's like, bro, like what? But no one cares.
Yeah,
no one cares.
Look, he was clearly more mentally agile than Joe. And he did have a few of his own senior moments. He's no spring chicken, the Trumpster.
Yeah, bad Palestinian.
But he bailed out with some well-rehearsed lines. He sort of knows how to get himself out of trouble. He managed to wander off into tangents, but when he was asked about his lust for revenge, he replied that his retribution would be success, would be measured by success. Before getting caught in the weeds and explaining his convictions, his criminal convictions, away by claiming it had been a boon for his fundraising. That was an odd moment. Even when the overturn of Roe v. Wade was raised, where Trump is weak, Biden's attack was like being belted mercilessly with a handful of arugula.
That's a very niche lettuce reference there. That's
it is,
good.
Yeah. You're going to mix them up.
That's strong. You could have just said belted with like a haddock or something, but all right, let's go with the lettuce. That's good. I guess haddock's got too much substance. Anyway, so Biden was seen several times with mouth agape awaiting questions, looking just fucking old, pale, and skeletal. His famous stutter appeared from time to time, which you can't fault him for, but it didn't add.
He said that since he was a child, and that's quite famous.
He's fought with it many times.
And you know that those people who do have stutters, when they're under stress, they will stutter more.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
it's really, really hard.
That certainly came out. But that would have been acceptable. But it
doesn't excuse the fact that he was standing there with the mouth agape, just staring into the wilderness.
Oh, God.
It was really very, very weird. So at the 8-minute mark, he froze, lost his train of thought, and it just felt like what was basically a geological age. I mean, it was forever. And then babbled incoherently until the sort of, the CNN reporter, Dana Bush,
moderators, Dana Bush,
just put him out of his misery, out of his addled confusion that just went forever.
So someone actually said to me that she'd actually administered the standing 8 count, which is a boxing term, of course. But but by that stage, Trump was just looking at us. Well, I can't lose now, and that was 8 minutes.
Yeah, no, like I have won. Yeah, it's fucked. It was fucked from the start. So Biden might have improved a little after the sort of commercial break, and I expected him to get his breath, but he was still spitting out these sort of disparate sentence fragments that made no real sense. And then you've got fucking absurd shit like Trump declared himself the man with the biggest heart on the podium. I mean, mate, really?
He's a big-hearted man.
And this is when it came to the environment of all things. And then he bluffed his way through questions on climate change by saying his record on the environment could only be described in these sort of superlatives, according to some unknown metric told to him by my people just before I stepped up here. What the fuck does that...
There's a fact for you.
Thanks. Yeah, my people told me. And like the thing that really stood out when he was asked about climate change is that instead of talking about CO2, he went straight to H2O. I'm not sure if that's an intentional thing or whether he just thinks they're both the same thing or something.
Not his strong suit, Joe.
No, and he explained he had the best water ever, which I think the people of Flint, Michigan might take a little bit of an issue with.
Trump water.
Because it...
They can drink Trump water.
What he really meant to say is that he's selling it to idiot conservatives where it says something like liberal tears, not woke water.
There was a Trump water. It's one of the defunct Trump brands, Trump Steaks, Trump University, et cetera, et cetera. But there was a Trump water.
Sure. Yeah, sold in beautiful plastic bottles.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful.
The debate turned into its final quarter with both men raving about how bad the other was. This was a vague highlight of it where Biden cited this sort of number of history scholars who called Trump the worst president in history. That was cool. Trump didn't like that. But of course, then Trump just answered by saying if he had 4 more non-consecutive years, he would be better than Abraham Lincoln, which he said before, I believe, Roosevelt, Teddy, and Franklin to become the best in history.
Wipe them all out.
The best in history, the best ever.
The greatest.
According to all the historians, the best ever lived, the best ever lived. Oh, yes.
Look, I stayed away from social media while I watched the debate. I'm not sure whether you did the same, Joe, but we were both watching betting markets, and they tilted wildly towards Trump as Biden reeled. The 45th POTUS ended the debate shortening from $1.90 to $1.78. We'll go to the current prices in a minute. So he ended the debate on $1.78, so there's a big fluctuation there. That is a fair chunk of money coming in on him. But Biden
they're already
blew
short
out
odds. So
Biden blew out to $4.20, and it really was that bad for the Democrats.
It got even, I think it went to like 5 at that point.
Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom came in from 28 to 1 to 18 to 1, and he shortened even more. The betting as it stands now, as we record this on the 4th of July, and that's a very significant date, and I'll get to that in a minute, Joel. The betting as it stands now as we record this is Trump is shortened further into $1.62. Kamala Harris is on the second line of betting. So the sitting president and the incumbent president is third on the line of betting. Kamala Harris at $5, Biden at $7, Michelle Obama, who won't run, is at $15, and Newsom's come in to $17, Joel. And why I say the 4th of July is significant, and it's not quite the 4th of July in North America. I don't even think the East Coast will be there yet. I have a feeling, as we record this, that Joe might put his hand up on the 4th of July for maximum impact.
For the country. Well, it's going to have an impact. I mean, Kamala, I'm looking at Betfair Live at the moment. Donald Trump stayed static at $1.71. Kamala's at $6.60. Biden's at $8.80, and Newsom is back up to $26, which is really fucked my bets.
He's hardly been mentioned.
I've got money on Biden and Newsom, but also Democrats to win. So
he's hardly been mentioned.
I've got a lot of safety,
which is not something to be doleful about. Look. He has been excluded from a lot of the sort of hypothetical polls. Reuters Ipsos published a poll with Trump's hypothetical opponents, which oddly, didn't feature Newsom, but did include Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, and Veep Kamala, with all trailing Trump. Kamala just 1 point behind the others in small single figures. Michelle Obama, who will not run, again, I have to say this, is 11 points ahead of Trump in the poll.
I know, right? Isn't that so funny?
50 to 39.
If she runs and wins, fucking Cook has called this, because they're all about the fact that the fix is in and Michelle Obama is going to, sort of take over.
It's kind of Dancing with the Stars type bullshit. I mean, this is...
It is a bit, yeah.
You always get this in... who's going to win the next Nobel Peace Prize, and Bono's there, Bono's there at 500 to 1. I mean, you've got to be dumb to do that.
If they do, It'll be interesting, right? I'll have to pay a lot of very shit people a lot of credit for picking Michelle, and some people will make some good money.
Yeah. Well, look, there is something wrong with going long odds, but what was the accountant, the large accountant in the office? What was his name? He once opined in a bit to camera saying that if anyone ever offers you 20,000 to 1, he said, you take it. It doesn't matter what the bet is, you just take it. And then he goes on to say, if the Farm Aid guy, John Cougar Mellencamp, he goes, if John Cougar Mellencamp ever wins the Best Actor Oscar, I'm sitting pretty. So he's taken John Cougar Mellencamp at 20,000 to 1.
20,000 to 1. So I believe that was Kevin Malone.
Kevin. How could I forget that?
And I forgot. I don't know how I forgot. I've watched The Office like a million times, and it's like, oh yeah, fuck Kevin, of course.
Great chili recipe, but you got to get the carpet sweepings off first. Yeah,
ends in tragedy. Spoiler alert! But what a moment in theatrical history! That poor man spent all night working on that chili.
The actor who plays him is actually was a very fine college athlete.
Really,
and when he speaks, when he drops the Kevin persona, he's got a actually rather lovely deep voice. But yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
so he's just a good actor, but he's also quite large.
He's a large human. Yeah. I think
I'm going to get really
college ball player.
I'm going to get really skinny after this bloody this weight loss trial, and then when I finally stop getting my jabs, I'll blow up like a fucking balloon.
Yeah,
it'll be delicious, so it's fine. So
the only place that we can see a hypothetical, because Joel and I are sort of opting for Newsom. We just think he's a charismatic person. He's young, a youngish
dog.
He's very quick on his feet. He's the sort of guy who just take Trump to the cleaners in a debate.
Fuck him up.
Look, there are issues around it, as there would be with Kamala Harris, for example.
People
California
hate her for
Democrats
reasons I
and
don't
all that sort of
understand.
stuff. But the only time, they've been sort of paired together in hypothetical polling. That's Trump and Newsom. And Trump and Newsom was 10 points up behind, 46 to 36, but that was in February.
Oh yeah, I saw one where it was 5 points behind, but not only in
I
February,
think there
but
was
also,
another one I looked at went back to November.
it's a man who's never campaigned.
Yeah, well, it's a hypothetical where you've got to ask people, and what do you got there? 46, 36, that's 82 plus, let's say, 10 for the others, and then you've got 8%. And there'd be the whole raft of people who don't know who he is.
Yeah.
Newsom, that is.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who
But
Trump
of course,
is.
he will be a fucking polling machine. He will be a fundraising machine. He will get out there and he will raise so much money from
Hollywood pedo
very
money,
large
Joe.
organizations.
A lot of Hollywood
pedo money, but also
money.
like big business money too. Because I'll just see him and he'll just be like,
absolutely, I'm only kidding.
But
just that's what cookers think about. Hollywood is just all pedos.
Oh, sorry. I forgot.
We were actually going to refer to that, aren't we, a little bit later in the show in our cooker update.
Yes, we are going to refer to a little bit of that, yeah.
What this sort of hypothetical polling tells us, I mean, look, a lot of Americans have no idea who Pritzker is, the Illinois governor, or Gretchen
Whitmer. I don't
Whitmer.
really either. I know Gretchen,
Andy Beshear,
well, she almost got kidnapped.
hardly well-known guys, and they're only 3-4 points behind Trump on hypothetical polling. So what it actually tells us is that Americans are desperate for an alternative than the two old men, one with the appearance of dementia and another a pathological liar and a convicted con artist.
And that, I think, can be reflected in the fact that if basically anyone who wanted, if the first of the presidential debates was scheduled so early, I believe it's a record how early this was in the campaign. Is this maybe an opportunity for the DNC to sort of test Biden's acuity under pressure?
Yeah. That's exactly why they did it. Yeah.
Yeah. You can stop wondering now, because that's got to be it, right? But then again, if he doesn't step aside, well then, fuck. What would have made that happen? So the South Carolinian chair of the DNC, Jamie Harrison, will be on smelling salts at this point because it was an unmitigated disaster for Biden.
James Harrison is a Biden appointee, by the way. So
things
are not going to be easy for him.
Yeah, that's going to be very, very tricky. But look, when it comes down to it, this was a fucking train wreck, and there is no way around it. You can't.
Yeah, look, Biden needs to be tapped before the DNC convention in Chicago in August. It gets to a point, really, it ideally should happen before then, around about that time. So the DNC, off the top of my head, 19, 20, 21 of August. Beyond that, you've got issues around ballots, how ballots are printed. So a lot of, we're talking about 150 million ballots, probably more. I dare say there'll be a lot more than that, probably closer to 250 million ballots printed.
Well, it depends on how much fraud there is.
Well, yeah, there's all that. There's all
one
that.
for you and one for the country.
So they can't really do it any later than mid-August. And ideally, particularly as we said, there's a lot of issues around, a potential candidate like Newsom or Kamala Harris, Andy Bashir, for example, or Gretchen Whitmer. People need a lot of time to find out who they are. So that's to develop a feel of who they are and a sense of trust and all that sort of stuff. So the longer the better. That's why I think, as we record this on the 4th of July, a very significant date in the United States always, and a very significant one in the UK, which we're going to get to very soon this year. I think the 4th of July Indy Day in the United States might provide Biden with an opportunity to go. So we'll be out on the airwaves after this, of course. So prove me wrong, time. We'll see how we go. But certainly Biden needs to be tapped.
Definitely, and
there are issues around being a California Democrat. They don't always appeal. There's two Americas. Well, there's more than two, but there's coastal America,
there's
and
50
then there's and then there's sort of continental in America in between it, and there are sort of very starkly different values and views around that. And that's not, we're not sort of talking about Mississippi and Alabama. But we're talking about places like Michigan and Wisconsin, Pennsylvania,
swing states,
where they, the attack stuff on Newsom or Kamala would be soft on crime, small L liberals, let criminals run the streets, all this sort of stuff.
They're going to turn America into San Francisco.
It's just it gets harder for Trump if he's up against someone who's really good at politics.
Yeah, and that's what Newsom offers. The issue, of course, is that he was the mayor of San Francisco, and San Francisco is a drug-riddled crime shithole. So, you'll just see all these – I've already seen them on Twitter, videos of basically just like, sort of junkies in California explaining their awful lives, and that all gets sort of pinned on Newsom, and that's his weakness, and everything else is the strength. The guy is slick as shit. He absolutely nails cunts. If you saw the DeSantis debate with him, he wiped the floor with DeSantis at a Fox News debate hosted by Sean Hannity, who basically said, you will all not be surprised at how I moderate this because you all know my politics. He walked into the fucking lion's den, and he didn't have to go back for his hat. He kicked the lion in the fucking dick.
He actually gets on. He actually gets on quite well with Hannity.
Well, Hannity had a fucking pretty good go at him as a debate moderator. It was not even playing field, and DeSantis got fucking owned. DeSantis did better than I expected insofar as that Gavin Newsom is almost the perfect attack dog, politically speaking. I've never seen anything quite like it. And DeSantis, thanks to Hannity's moderation a lot, he survived in times I thought he wouldn't. And that is why I think DeSantis did okay, because he didn't get nuclear level really destroyed the whole time. Oh, man, it was a fucking blood.
Well, Kamala Harris could counter, if she becomes the candidate, could counter the argument that she was soft on crime by reporting on her record as Attorney General of California. Yeah. And quite a lot of black people went to jail higher than usual, and the usual is very, very high. And And a lot went off for the needle as well.
Yeah, that's really in California.
Yeah.
They have a death penalty in California. Fuck me.
Yeah, death penalty in California,
Jesus.
and quite a few were shuffled through during her reign.
If you
Now, there
don't
you go.
want to
so
die,
she could say, "Hey, I'm tough on crime." Oh, hang on, black vote. Hang on, just a minute.
if you don't want to die, don't steal a chocolate bar. It's very simple. It's very fucking simple.
That's right. Yeah. So anyway, we have to move on to the UK election. 4th of July is going to be a very, very important date. In fact, they will be, Joel, they'll be out there having a vote now as we record this.
They will, unless something very fucking strange happens. By the time this pod will be released, there will be a new government in the UK, which is a Labour government led by Jeremy Corbyn. Just kidding. Sir Keir Starmer, the more Blairite version of Jeremy Corbyn. The odds of a Labour victory are 1 to 1,005. These aren't even interest rate odds. In other words, if you had 1,000 on the winning, you would get your 1,000 back and make $5.
$5.
Hardly seems worth it.
Easy $5.
Easy $5.
Yeah, the big you got if you did $1 million, you'd get what, 50.
Yeah, I just
you
know.
Go for 500. I'm sorry, you get 500 back.
You just wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
No.
Look, the bigger question, and it is one we can't answer right at the minute, is how bad it will be for the Conservative Party, the Tories, a 190-year-old major party, and they're likely to be reduced to almost no representation in the new House of Commons.
Nothing of value
The
is
likely
lost.
opposition party will be the Reform Party, the sort of Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party of the UK, with a racist Nigel Farage in place of the red-headed racist from Queensland. Same thing, just different hair colour.
Yes.
It is unclear if Farage will win his seat of Clacton in Essex, but it was a seat once won by a UKIP candidate, so you'd have to say it's a chance.
It's got a chance, yeah.
Other Reform candidates who stand a chance of winning include the former Conservative Deputy Chairman and one-time Labor Party member. There's a man who's been in a few parties. He's seeking to win the Red Wall seat of Ashfield. When we talk about the Red Wall, that's the sort of Midlands of the UK. Which came down in 2019.
That Red Wall did come down
with Boris.
It came down.
So yes, that fellow. I'm just trying to think of his name. The Conservative Deputy Chairman. He's a chance. Former Southampton soccer club owner Rupert Lowe's having a crack for reform, as is Kieran McGill, who's attempting to tap into an older reservoir of support for Brexit supporting politics in Castle Point. UKIP came second in the Essex constituency in 2015. I don't know how well you know the UK, folks, but people from Essex, I don't know. Anyway,
they're a funny bunch.
So there's fertile ground there for the Reform Party, and we'll see how that all goes. We'll see how Farage goes. He might not win his seat. I mean, there's going to be plenty of surprises, Joel.
Yes, there are. Lots of Tory majorities going to get wiped away. It's going to be like a natural disaster. Yeah. I reckon Rishi Sunak's probably going to lose his seat.
And off to Palo Alto he goes, yes.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I mean,
he's just got he's standing there with his ticket in his hand at the airport, just waiting to go.
He likes sandwiches and he will not be without one. He will be fine.
I just saw one wonderful meme that goes back to Bottom with Rick Bale and Adrian Edmondson.
Excellent show.
And I don't know if you remember, they were involved in a police siege. They were being sieged.
Oh, God,
They were being besieged.
I've got to watch that again.
Rick Mail gets on the phone to talk to the negotiator. He goes, "What kind of sandwiches do you do?"
Fucking Rick Mail, R.I.P. What a fucking legend.
God love him. What a sad day it was when he passed away.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So
Rishi could go. I mean,
he's in Yorkshire. Yeah,
Rishi had 70% of the vote. There's been an electoral redistribution around his part of the world.
Ooh, are they pawns involved in that? Does that capture any pawns? Because I don't think there's many pawns around Yorkshire.
Um, but look, I forget his name of the city. It was Richmond. Now it's Richmond and something. So there's been an electoral redistribution there. But he did win 70% of the votes. Of course, we should explain, just in case our listeners don't realise or had forgotten, that voting is voluntary in the UK. And it is a first-past-the-post system. So you get more votes, no preferences, off you go.
Shit system.
Sunak got 70%, but I reckon any Tory that's sitting on 70% is in trouble.
Wow. That's bad.
And that also includes Liz Truss, the former UK PM, for just 49 days. She's got a book out.
That's nice. Is it called My Time as a Lettuce?
But she strangely doesn't take a lot of responsibility for almost crashing and burning the UK economy in the space of 7 weeks.
Oh, man. What a fucking
and it also includes the especially unlikable Jacob Rees-Mogg. He's gone. Bye-bye.
Good.
Right? Good. He had his seat in northeast Somerset. Well, that's what it's called, and got 50% of the vote in 2019. So bye-bye, Jacob. It's back to merchant banking for you.
His surname screams House of Lords to me, but we'll see.
Oh, well, not when Labor's in power, mate. His surname, yes, it does a bit, but it's actually merchant banking. I think his wife is wealthier than he is, and he's not short of a quid.
No, I'm sure they'll be fine.
Combined asset wealth close to $1 billion.
They could buy Rishi Sunak a sandwich and not even notice.
But nevertheless, he does carry that everyman view of the world. I don't know if anyone saw. There was a clip of him being confronted with someone, or a constituent in Somerset that had cerebral palsy, and this guy just ripped into him. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
Wow. That is
Rees-Mogg, all he could do was, I'm sorry. It's just that reminder that every 5 years in the UK, every 3 years federally here, every 4 years kind of everywhere else, politicians actually have to front their constituents and explain some of the shit they've been up to.
Yeah, look them in the eye and cop it sweet.
And this was particularly, it's sort of, you could see Rees-Mogg, who seems to be almost sociopathic normally, was really affected by it.
Oh, that's nice to see. Look, the man of stone turns to wood.
So Labor is likely to return with 400 or more seats in the 650-seat lower house chamber.
Not bad.
But I get the feeling it's not really Blair's cool Britannia with Oasis playing in the background. There seems to be less of a push to embrace Labor than to punish the Tories, who did behave disgracefully in government, went through two purges and basically sat around like the born-to-rule trash that they are.
Yes, that's right.
But in this election, one topic is barely touched on, Joel. Oddly enough, Brexit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the elephant in the room, the trade-decimating elephant in the room.
This is a blue whale in the room, and there's no squeezing past it. You can't ignore it. Anyway, neither the Tories nor Labor want to talk about it. No one wants to kill it off and re-enter the European common market. They can't even bring themselves to say it. Even Farage has been saying Brexit has been a disaster. And he was the leader of the Leave campaign.
Yeah, apparently NHS was going to cost 11 billion and consist of elephants. Only doctors and elephants would be allowed in hospitals. And I mean, who cares about that?
Right. Yeah,
dumbest.
Elephants will be well looked after, but people know.
Yes, they will. But that's the only people. So dumb.
But he claims that Brexit conceptually was still a very good thing.
Still a very good thing.
The way the Tories had done it was extreme. Was a disaster. And he actually acknowledged, yes, but it was actually about immigration. And Labor and Starmer don't want to talk about it because it still divides their party.
Well, it does, and all their voter base too.
It should be discussed because it has been a disaster. The greatest act of economic self-harm since Mao's great leap forward.
Oh, the crops were coming. You were just impatient.
Yeah.
You got to wait, mate. You got to wait it out.
Only about 50 million dead there.
Oh, look, they were impatient.
And we know that Brexit has been a disaster because there's been some analysis done, Joel.
Oh, okay.
Off you go.
Let's get to some stats nuggets here. So post-Brexit, Britain has, quote, significantly underperformed other advanced economies since the 2016 EU referendum, according to a new analysis from Goldman Sachs, which aims to quantify the economic cost of the Leave vote. That's never a good thing. If you say, want to quantify the economic cost, it's never going to be the economic money we made. No. So in a note last week entitled, quote, "The Structural and Cyclical Cost of Brexit," the Wall Street Bank estimates that the UK economy grew 5% less over the past 8 years than other comparable countries. It's not a good place to be, but the true hit to the British economy could be anywhere from 4 to 8% of real gross domestic product. That's fucking hardcore recession territory. And that's what the bank was saying, acknowledging the difficulties of extracting the impact of Brexit from other simultaneous economic events. Fair enough, including, for example, COVID-19 pandemic and the 2022 energy crisis. Thanks, Putin. But the thing, real GDP is a growth metric that has been adjusted for inflation, and it's not doing fucking well over there.
So we can get caught in the stats here, but basically Goldman Sachs have found is that the British economy should be somewhere between 4 and 8% bigger than it is now.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Because of Brexit.
Yeah.
They attributed the economic shortfall to 3 key factors: reduced trade, tick, weaker business investment, tick, and labour shortages as a result of lower immigration from the EU. The UK's economy has grown less than 2% between 2010 and 2021. That's hard data. And yes, that period extends to pre-Brexit economic data.
It's meant to be 2% a year.
But at the same time, full-year GDP growth in Germany averaged 1.23% per year from 1992 until 2023, and France averaged 1.8% over the last 10 years, both sort of in very tepid growth, like the UK.
Yeah.
But still taking the Brits or the UK to the cleaners. Neither of those figures are great for massive industrialised economies, of course.
No.
It is difficult to separate Brexit from other economic forces. As we said, pandemic, the deindustrialisation of the UK, not voluntarily, but it's just happening. The energy deficit and the invasion of Ukraine. But the facts are starting to come together. The merchant bankers have spoken, and it's a fucking disaster. Brexit is a fucking disaster. Brexit was all about immigration. It was all about white Brits, particularly blue-collar Brits, who didn't want a Romanian doing the reno in their bathrooms.
Yeah,
you know?
too true.
I want a local boy to do it.
Yeah. Well, there's no local boys. They're all kick streamers now.
And the Remainers' economic modelling has been proven right, but the Brits went ahead and did it anyway. I've had this conversation with a number of people who live in England, and they go, "Oh, you don't understand the British psyche." And what is the British psyche? Do they routinely commit fucking suicide?
Yeah,
Do they
right?
routinely fucking slash off an arm? Oh, geez, I feel better without that. I think my arm might have been a bit Romanian or Polish.
I wouldn't want to say the word gypsy, but I tell you what, it's on my tongue.
Oh, and the polling on Brexit now, Joel?
Oh, yeah?
Those who think it was right to leave is 31%, down 20 points since the 2016 referendum, while 55% say it was wrong to leave.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Too late, guys. Done now. Can't be undone.
I tell you what, though, it is actually, there's a benefit that we're not talking about here, and I think this is really an oversight. When it comes to the truck drivers that are going from the UK into the EU, the lines they're in for compliance are really good for listening to podcasts and audiobooks. I mean, imagine you could listen to our entire back catalogue before you get to fucking Calais. That's amazing. What an opportunity.
If you're in the business in the UK, let's bear in mind, what are you, 30 kilometres from Europe at the closest point. I mean, the impacts on manufacturing are just disastrous. Horticulture, agriculture. I was reading about a Scotch distillery.
Oh, yeah?
They can't get in the market. They can't get into a European marketplace because everything's got to go through customs now.
Yeah,
there's so much more paperwork. There's so much additional cost.
Yeah.
That they're just sort of getting priced out of the market. And
it's cooked.
And in terms of supply, another great model I was looking at was the sort of horticultural flower growers.
Yeah,
they can't. It's just a disaster. The forms that they have to fill in, and then they've got all sorts of issues around supply. So the end users, perhaps floral chains and things like that, in Europe are saying, well, you can't You can't supply us when we need them. So, sorry.
Get fucked. Wild.
And that's just what's happening to the economy right now. And they were sold a pup. They were sold a pup by people like fucking Farage, who's going to, tomorrow, probably around about this time, is going to do the old 2V salute and say, well done, everyone, and aren't I just a wonderful human being who succeeded?
Fucking argument against
he's a
democracy
piece of
that
shit.
he's able to even show his face in public in that fucking country after
Well,
that.
at least Boris Johnson, I mean, with as much front as he's got, has decided to sit this one out.
Yeah, wise.
Cows have fucking masks on.
Everybody is up for the high jump if they deserve it. If they deserve to hang, they will hang.
Rise up, Australia. Men of Australia, time to step up and be real men. Protect your kids or go down biggest cowards this country has ever seen. Hang that animals.
It has been a while since we did a classic cooker update to fill you in on the often mundane and sometimes absurd things happening in the cookerverse. And while Tinfoil Tales does a far better job of this than we do, we still like to stick the boot in now and then and have a laugh at some of the more creative members of right-wing fringe political movements.
Oh, yeah, it's very nicely put. I think that was very generous to our cooker friends. But let's kick off with Michael Gray Griffith.
That guy.
I don't know. You may not know him. Well, okay, so he's also known as Michael Gray Grope due to his tendency to get handsy with women, allegedly.
He's a playwright, wouldn't you know?
Yes. He plays right with her nipples. Sorry. And Michael Gray Grift is also another term for this gentleman.
That's perhaps my favourite.
We like him so much. So he's copped a whopping 10-year post-ban on Facebook for his Cafe Locked Out page. Apparently it's 10 years like minus a day or something, which is very funny. If Mark Zuckerberg has a sense of humour, that's it.
Don't get that long for murder in Victoria.
No. But he has murdered art, so that's fine. I just find it really funny that he's actually been locked out of Cafe Locked Out. So he's locked out of Cafe Locked Out. Yeah,
there'll be a lot of shouting at clouds going on, Joel.
Oh, you fucking better believe it. Well, he's calling it Australia's internet gulag.
But he's in Australia's internet gulag?
He's in Australia's internet gulag.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see him in the fourth labour camps of the internet, where he's, busy shoveling zeros and ones in the
working in the timber industry. Pretty grueling, and don't think the playwright would be up to it. Make a mess of his hands.
I think he'd be dead very quickly. But of course, he's one for dramatic overstatement, and it's not unexpected from this sort of perpetual victim complex that Gropey Grifters built himself over the years. Of course, he has several Facebook pages to evade the ban that haven't been picked up on by the reptile Zuckerberg, which is very sad, but it's also given him something to whinge about. And of course, push the narrative that he is a truth teller being politically targeted, as opposed to the fact that he's just a pusher of disinformation and a wannabe cult leader, and Facebook just don't like that, and that's fine.
Wannabe is the particular term there, Joel.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a good hairline. That's about it. The rest of him just smells. So apparently the video that earned him the posting ban was an interview with former federal police officer Craig Boswell. I looked him up. I didn't find shit. There's nothing interesting here. It goes for 100 minutes. I'm not watching that. No. If this is a full-time job, I would. If I was like a knowledge fight. But no, absolutely fucking not. One can only imagine the nonsense they covered. I'm not even going to imagine it. But what I can say is that, funnily enough, the On the Road with Cafe Locked Out page, run by MGG's travel mate Kelly, has the interview up on Facebook without an issue. So that's interesting. So he says the video got him banned, and yet it's on Facebook.
Yes, anyway. Probably not.
I don't know what happened. Maybe he accidentally uploaded a picture of his dick, or I don't know. So look, absolutely stunned this page would go down, considering the fact that Guru's page still remains up. I mean, that just boggles the mind. I mean, and just like, well, and while Boating McCancerface has not been banned from Facebook yet, he has been banned from hospitals.
Given the ass from hospitals.
He has. Now, I've heard from people that work in hospitals, in the health sector in general, that it is quite an achievement to actually be banned from one.
It is. It normally is associated with violence towards staff members and abusive sort of behaviour. Hello.
Yeah, well, that doesn't sound like our friend Guru at all. So Guru managed to get himself banned from an entire health district. And this may be the norm for being banned from a hospital. Maybe the whole health district works in unison.
Right. But New South Wales has health districts, and that particular health district, Illawarra Health, has issued a termination notice, Joel.
That's right. He has been terminated for being over the target. That's the reason why.
Yeah,
and now,
of course.
While health workers are used to being routinely abused, not only by anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers, because wearing a mask is a form of political oppression, we all know that, but by people who are genuinely surprised they can't vape in a hospital ward.
What?
Yeah, I know. Fucking rigged, huh?
Can't have a quick styvo? Can't have a lazy styvo in the waiting room? What's the world come to?
The most enthralling part is they get rather aggressive when they find out they can't.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. So it's just, in summary, Guru must have acted like a fucking massive fuckwit to unlock this rare achievement. It is
not just a little like a profanity muttered under his breath. It's a full blown screech. Abusive behaviour.
It's a lot. It's a real lot. So as usual, he claims he's done nothing wrong, although he proudly states on the flip side here that he has been questioning their narrative, and that's what made them so upset.
What?
Yeah. So I tell you right now, if you ever go to a hospital, if you want to get out of emergency department quickly and into a bed, say you got chest pains, but if you want to make the health workers like you, question their narrative. They love it. They love it.
What's your narrative,
Any
mate?
doctor or nurse I've talked to has said, I just wish more people would question my narrative because I just feel like I'm not...
Guru's just learnt the word narrative.
Yeah, he just really likes it.
In recent times anyway. So he likes to use it a lot. It makes him sound a lot smarter, and it's quite easy to spit that word out without aggravating that cancer on his head.
Yeah, if you spell it with one R, it still seems cool. Like, it's great. Yeah, I love it. Fuck.
He was banned while visiting his dying father in hospital. Instead of just pulling his head in and quietly visiting his dad like normal people do, he had to make a scene because he is Guru. He especially took issue with the fact that hospital staff were checking in to see if they were wearing masks. And when we say they, I presume he and his partner were wearing masks around his severely ill father. He took umbrage to this. For shame, medical staff, for the absurd notion that Guru and his wife would possibly take their masks off when they think they aren't being watched. Oh, the gall of these people.
Isn't it fucking atrocious? I mean, why would you think that he would take off his mask? Why? Is it just the hours of content he posts every night? I mean, disgraceful.
Maybe you're getting
shame on you, New South Wales Health.
A little bit of seepage out of that cancer on his lip.
He had like a cold at the time, and he was talking about the fact that there was a flu going around which was getting unvaccinated people, and it's like, that's called COVID, and you're going into a fucking hospital and you're complaining. Anyway, so look, I've found with a bit of disdain, actually, that in hospitals this year, nobody was wearing masks. And I wasn't in ICUs, I wasn't in special areas, but I did go through a sort of clinical trial type thing, and no one was wearing masks. Not even the staff are wearing masks. I'm like, okay, well, fuck, I don't feel bad anymore. But then, this really emphasized the fact that the area he was in was probably full of some very fucking sick people.
ICU.
And yeah, ICU, or basically just like the hospice area of the fucking place, old folks spending their last 2 weeks. Yeah. And you don't want to, palliative care, that's exactly it. And you do not want to be in a situation where you bring fucking COVID into a palliative care area. But of course, Guru had to make it all about him and how masks are making him sad and trapping his cancer with himself and whatever. Fuck it.
Look, unfortunately, Guru's father did pass. He must have been a fair old age, but he did pass away, and that is lamentable. So he did the Guru did the totally cool and normal thing of taking a photo with his dead dad and posting it on Facebook.
Don't do that. That's weird.
Who wouldn't do that? Then he did the other completely reasonable thing and posted his link to the live stream of his father's funeral on his Facebook page. Come along. Cool. Bring a plate.
Yeah.
There are a few things more terminally online than posting a link to your dad's funeral to a bunch of strangers in your weird disinformation cult.
It's so unhealthy. I just can't even start. It's just cooked behavior. And also, just to remove any doubt, this is unrelated, but Guru has been retweeting Holocaust denial material, Europa, Last Battle stuff. I don't think anyone's hugely surprised by this, but it just seemed worth mentioning because I just don't understand what it is like with cookers and blatantly falling for Nazi shit. It's
what, you don't understand it, Joel? You don't understand the connection? Do we
I know
have to
they're
explain
rooms.
it? Do I have to explain it to you? If
I know
you
they're
believe
gullible.
in half of the shit that Guru comes up with, then you are so fucking gullible that you can be manipulated into thinking that white people are being discriminated against by Jews and the coloureds and all this sort of stuff. If you're that naive, if you're that gullible, then you're a walk-up star.
Why can't we convince them through their gullibility in progressive ideas that aren't evil? That's the saddest part.
It's too complicated. That's why.
Too complicated. Yeah. They're real basic bitches.
And speaking of Nazis and cookers, a very fucking concerning event took place. It's called the Polish Club in Rowville, Victoria, eastern suburb of Melbourne. I just did want to clarify that. It's known as the Polish Club. It's also known as Polish Serena Polish House. It's a large ethnic community centre in eastern Melbourne that also has a community hall for rent and for hire and a restaurant there too. So that's where it took place. Hello, Serena Polish House. You've got some questions to answer.
Yes, you do.
And what happened at Serena was that cookers attended a National Workers Alliance gathering. There's a National Workers Alliance. That doesn't sound like a trade union.
It's good, right?
It does a little bit, doesn't it?
But, workers, good.
And it featured former Neighbours star Damien Richardson. Hello. Alongside classic cookers Craig Cole and Nick Patterson.
Yeah, and I'm going to be a little bit shy with names, and I'm going to leave a few things out because I've got a general aversion to naming anyone everyone doesn't know already. So just as a general pretense to this, I will be making vague gestures around Nazi people, and I'm doing that for a reason. So the event was set to be held at the Matthew Flinders Hotel in Chadstone, but the booking was cancelled without explanation, according to a Nazi rag I got that from. Not hard to figure out why. Oh, without explanation. Because you're a bunch of fucking Nazis. But, of course, one can only assume that the Polish club didn't realise that these people were actual Nazis, considering the Polish themselves didn't exactly have a heaps fun time during World War II with their German cousins across the field. But according to the White Rose Society, they had been notified of this. They were insinuating several times by members of the public. And also, friend of the podcast and the Tinfoil Tales Patreon, friend of the podcast, Ken Behrens, and the Tinfoil Tales Patreon message that came out also mentioned they have held cooker events in the past. So,
yeah, when we talk about Poles and Germans and so forth, there is an extensive network of right-wing extremism throughout Poland, and we might remember they have a progressive government in power now, but before that they had a sort of nationalist government, perhaps not extreme right to the point of Nazism, but there is
exactly
unhealthy streak of it in Poland.
Sure, but
as there is in most of Eastern Europe, of course.
I think they'd find it very difficult to hang pictures of Adolf Hitler in that place and not get a bit of a hiding. Because
I think a lot of Poles would be very upset. I think a lot of Poles living in Australia would be very upset with the conduct of the Polish club or the Polish house, depending on what we want to call it, in respect to this. And I think if they were aware that this event took place, there would be some management changes to the Polish club.
Well, we will see how that plays out. But one thing that I find fascinating is that, for example, you're in a situation where we were in World War II as well. And David Richardson was using his grandfather, saying that he fought against the Nazis and then pandered to well-known Nazis in the crowd I just find that cognitive dissonance level shows that you can be someone who is disgusted by Nazis in the same breath as being mates with them and believing in their ideology, because some people's brains just don't fucking work.
Well, what he's also done there is done what a lot of people do, particularly around the extremities of politics and on the right, is to say, "Oh, my father fought in the war," or is to sort of create this sort of sense of fake heroism around themselves, according
100%.
to distant relatives that actually did make sacrifices.
Because I'm related to someone who did something good. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's like a complete fucking joke. Like, this was the thing. This is in the Tanaki article. And basically he says, "How dare you? My grandfather fought against them." And then goes on to say, from the Tanaki article, everyone talks about Nigel Farage being debanked, but does everyone know Blair Cottrell? He was debanked well and truly before Nigel Farage. Bro, Blair Cottrell's a Nazi, and you know that.
See a slight contradiction there?
Do you get it? But I don't actually know. I don't know if you were to walk up to this fucking moron, everybody needs good neighbours, except for Nazi kind, where you just go, mate, like, do you get the issue there? It's like, no, but Blair's a good guy. And you're like, dude, but he's a Nazi. What? My grandfather fought against Nazis. You're like, but yeah, he fought against people like Blair, except a lot of those Nazis were actually conscript and were there in a horrible propaganda campaign that was almost outside of their control. And then you explain the banality of evil, and Damien just stares at you and says, "Yeah, my grandfather fought them." You fucking idiot. Anyway. So the Tinfoil Tales girls have been following this fairly closely. Had a chat with Cam Smith and Annie Fleming on Passaran. If you don't listen to that podcast, it's fantastic. Go online and you search for it. You can find it. Tom Tanaki also did a piece on this for Independent Australia, which is worth a read. It's a good write-up on the event. He definitely listened to it. I didn't listen to the entire thing because fuck that. But to remove any shadow of doubt as to whether the National Workers Alliance group, which features a blatantly Nazi symbol, was going full uniform in the whole Hitler business. The event was attended by several prominent Nazis, not naming them, but this does include Hitler and steroid enthusiast Blair Cottrell, who was given the mic during the Q&A segment at the end of it to freely push Nazi ideology and also to remove any other doubts as to whether Damien Richardson knew who Blair was. He said fucking this.
I think you know this too, Blair. We have to secure a homeland for our people, as I don't know how our people can sustain themselves if they don't have a homeland they belong to. This is happening across the Western world. There has to be security for us and the Volk and our people where we are comfortable with who we are. How that happens, I'm not prepared to feed post on a live stream.
Fed post is basically saying something that's going to get the attention of the federal police.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
So I'm not going to propose accelerationism, or I'm not going to say something that's going to get the cops' attention. But what I really mean to say is that how that happens. Well, it's a civil war, and we'll be the white guys trained in MMA. So I would say those are fighting words, personally. I would say, I don't want to quote Elon Musk here because that's unpopular, but that's concerning. That is. I would also quote Elon Musk and say, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
He
likes saying wow. Wow and concerning are his thing. So I just want to once again say thanks to the Tinfoil Tales Patreon email for that quote, because it's they did a post on Patreon, which I think a lot of people didn't see as a result of not being patrons. I would recommend they do so. And if they message me and they say they've joined the Patreon, I will send them that article, because I think they did a really good job. I think it's as good as Tom's piece, but it's a very small audience on the Patreon, and anyone who wants to access that, give them $5 and I'll send it to you. So look, while Nazis see cookers as easy marks, that's easy math, there was some dissent in the ranks questioning the need to focus on race, and some were defending First Nations people, asking this.
Why are we being so harsh on Indigenous people? They face the exact same thing as what you are talking about now. They didn't want us to come to their land. I don't agree that we should pay them, but don't we all have the same enemy?
The enemy is the government, of course. Yeah.
The history of extreme right-wing parties in this country, pre-Nazism, post-Nazism, is first and foremost an attack and assault on Indigenous Australians.
Yeah.
I mean,
and why?
we wouldn't have to go far to look at Blair Cottrell's statements on this. To look at Tom Sewell's statements on
Reclaim
this.
Australia
We would only have to go back to the voice referendum to find out exactly where Nazis stand on Indigenous rights and reconciliation in this country.
Absolutely. And the great thing about Cookers is that, like, for reasons that are entirely self-interested, they hijacked Indigenous causes to make themselves seem more legitimate. And unfortunately for the freedom movement, they didn't realize that some of the people who they suckered into these ideas actually end up believing them. Very unfortunate. So they use those as an opportunistic vehicle to try and claim some kind of sovereignty or some sort of empowerment in the face of some sort of perceived government overreach. And a decent amount of people paying attention started to actually think that First Nation causes were legitimate. And now, when you've done your full circle and finally put the fucking uniform on, they think this is a bit of a bad idea. You're a victim of your own progressive ideals, and I'm here to fucking watch it. So, the issue of Indigenous people was obviously dismissed very quickly by the presenters, saying, quote, "I'll stop you there. I haven't heard anyone say anything negative about any other race," which is fucking laughable and actual gaslighting. This is the primary topic of discussion, was that white people were under threat from other races. This was the whole point of the fucking meeting. But that's what they do. They gaslight. And some people in the crowd are probably like, yeah. Because according to the Tinfoil Tales email, who I'm sure watched this in great horror, the audience clapped for that response. I'll stop you there. I haven't heard anyone say anything negative about any other race in a night that is basically about getting rid of migration and migrants and making a white Australia, which they were really overt about. These are actual Nazis.
Oh, it's the easy soft call. It's the easy
and you
soft
clap
call.
for that? I like to think 4 people clap for it. I think I would find myself bitterly fucking disappointed. So one altercation about this topic almost resulted in a fight after the event. Tanaki reported that there was a bit of a uncomfortable feeling in the crowd and emphasizes that in the article. And it really isn't easy to stand up for your beliefs in a room like that. You are cornered. These people are famous for politically motivated violence. I would not be up there being like, I reckon trans people actually do have a big purpose of existence, because I would expect some fucking meathead kid to come and punch me in the back of the head. But some people did speak up. Fucking all power to them. Or as far as Cookers go, good on you, because that's really, even if it was for dumb reasons, good on you. But then, for example, other bits we need to pay credit to, because credit is where credit's due. Tanaki reported that since the evening, a My Place organiser banned talk of white Australia in their spaces. This is, of course, despite the fact that their leader attended the event and seemed to be having a pretty fucking nice time. Yeah. So, I don't know, maybe Darren will tap that person. Sorry, white Australia's got a real place in our group. Freedom of speech, right? Fucking clowns.
Attendance has been placed at 300 people, the demographic skewing towards the older freedom movement types, who the Nazis want to turn into boomerwaffen.
Oh, what a great term.
Darren Bergworth showed up, as we said before, and did a nice little interview.
Yeah.
Had a snitty.
He did. Just hanging out.
And he said what a nice place the Polish club was.
He wants to have future events
to distance
there.
himself from the neo-Nazis at the event, but that didn't quite come up in conversation, huh?
Yeah, it didn't. No, surprise. The first thing I would have said the moment a camera was in my face would be, fuck me, that was bad.
Wait a minute. Aren't you a famous Holocaust denier? Now running around with Nazis, having a snitty with Nazis at the Polish club?
No, I got to correct you there, Jack. No, he's not a Holocaust denier. That's absurd. He just wasn't there.
He was, yeah. Sorry.
He wasn't there.
That is Holocaust denial.
No.
Don't be silly about this. Don't be silly about this. I know. I've seen his explanation, and Pretty much that's all Berg was famous for.
Well, yeah, it was definitely a part of that Four Corners thing that was absolutely fucking brain-bending. But that's the thing. I mean, like, you know, you sit out there and you post this fucking Holocaust denial shit, and then when someone calls you out on it, you come up with the idea that you weren't there. Are you fucking serious? What an incredibly flimsy fucking excuse that is. But anyway, look, like when it comes down to it, Nazis been targeting cookers for some time now. It's an obvious target. And what they'll do is they'll just post culture war bullshit on Telegram, real rage bait, because cookers love rage bait, and then link back to their page, which pushes Holocaust denial, anti-Semitism, asking questions, usual Nazi nonsense. You know exactly what I'm fucking talking about, guys. Yeah. I don't think we've seen an event like this.
Not with those numbers? No.
Not with those numbers, not with this like all-star cast of Nazis, because they were all there. And it just blatantly shows that Nazis are courting cookers outside of Telegram in a public forum. And we did see kickback, which is cool. But I mean, Damien Richardson, he is a well-spoken person who's been going further and further to the right over the years, but you usually assume that there's a Nazi line you won't cross. But this really places him in an unquestionably uncomfortable position on the political compass.
Become uncomfortable at all for him, Joe.
Well, I don't think you can be a Nazi and be comfortable. That's not a position you can take and feel at peace in the world. No one likes you except for your weird mates who like human growth hormone and, you know, vapes. So, for what was a pretty significant political event and an alarming progression toward organised Nazi groups from the freedom movement actually coalescing, there has been a lack of mainstream media coverage, which I'm a little bit surprised by, but so be it. And with any luck, most cookers will see this as a bridge too far, just like the guy who thought it was ridiculous to pick on Indigenous folks, and lose interest. That's yet to be seen. We are in stage 1 of this, from what I can say. And for now, this is a clear escalation of the obvious and ongoing plan to turn cookers into Nazis. And it's yet to be seen, but it might actually fucking work.
Yeah, look, the other thing to remember about extreme right-wing parties in Australia is that they routinely splinter, fragment, tear themselves apart.
Yes, they all bicker, which is good.
And then go through a rebirth, create a new entity, and then they split that up again. So it's a really profound history about it. And that's because these people are unlikable even to themselves.
It's true. It's true.
And to finish our cooker update, we have to mention the excellent recent coverage of the Enagic Kangen water alkalizer, a multi-level marketing scam which has seen Dave Oneegs become a full-blown MLN Hun and took him on a trip to Japan, where he was only allowed to do a few things because he hasn't sold enough fancy water machines. Damn it!
Aw, you can do better. Just keep trying.
Now, the ABC did an excellent article about Kangen water sales coaches who are now targeting women in rural Australia with promises of riches and freedom as long as they sell all their mates' magic water machines and often surround themselves in debt, plunge into debt on weird financing schemes that go along with this.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That's definitely a thing. It's kind of fucked up. So Vaxatious Litigant has done amazing work looking into this, and it is a must-read if you're interested in the whole fucked up MLM tactic thing, and also these sort of genuine debunks of the wild claims these dickheads make of the riches earned off the back of selling these wet paperweights to fucking idiots. Now, unfortunately, in the desperation to sell automatic snake oil dispensers, these so-called distributors will make wild claims about the benefits of the alkalized water. Now, this can be lame bullshit about how, like, a dog will, under clear instruction, choose Kangen water over tap water. That's a thing I've seen. It's embarrassing. Yeah, it's so lame. But also, shit like Dave Oneegs suggesting that breast screening was part of a sickness industry and that cancer thrives and survives in an acidic environment. Oh, well, what could the solution be? Oh, I got to get alkalized. How can I do that? Oh, Dave's magical bubbler box. Only $8,000. Fuck me. Oh, at least you won't get breast cancer.
You are, Dave Oneegs. You are a fucking despicable, loathsome fucking reptile.
Yeah, one of the people that I have absolutely no time for in any way, shape, or form, in any part of my soul. He is an actual stain on society and a terrible human being.
Yeah, people say, oh, he's got mental health problems, and, you know, and I say, fuck you. This guy's a con artist and a crook.
I don't give a shit about his bipolar. I don't care. I do not care. He's a fucking scumbag. And as we were discussing last night, we kind of feel sorry for Bosie. I mean, that's how far this goes and how far Dave is outside of our fucking empathy. Fuck you, Dave. Anyway, so going back to 2019, just to give you an idea of how fucked up the kangaroo water cult is, the measles crisis in Samoa, which was led by anti-vaxxers,
Yes.
created a desperate push for alternative solutions to the devastating impact of measles on the children there. And thankfully, one local man had a way to alleviate the symptoms of measles. Yes, fucking Kangen water. But he wasn't a snake oil salesman. He didn't claim it was a cure, so that's really cool. He just claimed it would alleviate the symptoms.
Uh-huh. They're feeling good, he said. The measles are already, well, not cured, but it's already back to normal.
That sounds like a cure to me, you lying sack of shit.
The product is just tap water put through a filter in his kitchen, but those who had paid for it, like Mother Janet Vadagatu, believed it had helped. It's really good for curing the virus, Miss Vadagatu said.
So that's from the ABC.
Yeah, that's
let's
from
not
the
forget.
ABC. But look, there's a lot of talk about alkalinity in South Pacific Island groundwater. And that is a consequence of climate change. So these are things that are already sort of hot button issues in places like Fiji and places like Vanuatu, Tonga, etc. Because their water tables are disappearing.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure there are much less insane ways of making that work, but yeah.
And part of the overall impact of climate change on our oceans is to increase its pH level.
The acidity of oceans. Yeah. Yeah, it puts some fucking calcium in there. There's different ways to do this. Anyway, so let's just also just revisit that just for a moment as a sidebar, that Taylor Winterstein, who is, so hilariously enough, another MLM hun, she's pushing Monat, which is a sketchy shampoo that claims to restore your hair. So like women get thicker hair, guys get their hair back. Mate, I'm going to buy some. I've got no fucking hair.
Get into it. Get into it, Joe.
She was a huge force behind the anti-vax sentiment in Samoa at the time. I believe, and this is allegedly, Mike Sims was involved. RFK Jr. has a hand in it. Mike Sims has an autistic child who made him start trying to find answers as to why. And that led him down the sort of, the anti-vax pipeline into being a fierce opponent of MMR vaccinations. But I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry that your kid's got autism. That's awful. But don't kill Samoan kids. No. Just saying, because
it does.
Yeah,
it shouldn't make you feel better.
Anyway,
after the ABC article, the MLMers went into damage control overdrive, posting several thousand-word essays on haters. And how grateful they are to be making all this money. They fly in planes and everything.
They do.
Sometimes to Japan.
Yeah, they even buy drinks. Fuck, they said they flew business class and they didn't, and they just bought some drinks and put on their chairs, and you can see behind them they're in cattle class. You're like, mate, there's chairs everywhere. You're not in business class. You're just lying to us about your perceived wealth. Yeah. Fucking weird scumbags.
It's just so crazy.
And as with all MLMs, the numbers don't add up, and they're not meant to. Any wealth created comes from the expense of others, and you simply cannot maintain a downline that will sustain you financially and all your fucking mates without people losing money. Someone has to lose money. That's how MLM works. There's not enough people in the world to buy the number of water filters required to keep up with the promises made by these bullshit artist sales coaches to their limited flock of sheep. And yet they still get people in. They still lure them in. And look, the worst part is that many people buy their first water filter, and you need to buy one to become a distributor on credit. As you said.
On finance.
But that credit is through an Enagic affiliated company.
Yes.
Sky MasterCard, I think it's called. The interest rates are shockingly high. You can pay 10.99% if you just want to do the interest rate thing. But if you get sucked into the 12-month interest-free offer, which is a fucking trap, it turns into 25.99%.
Oh.
That's a lot, guys.
That will just sink you. If you are just getting by now, in 12 months, it will sink you. You won't be able to put food on the table.
Yeah, you could refinance on a personal loan if you're eligible for one. It's just fucking awful. So, it's predatory in the purest sense of the term. Now, I believe I've seen somewhere, probably the shitposting group, that Oneegs is claimed to have made $180,000 from this after tax.
Well, he's paying tax, is he?
Maybe $250 or $300? Yeah, cool.
We'll have to have a word to the ATO about it.
Yeah, I don't think so. So, unfortunately, Enagic's own disclosure statement shows that only 1% of distributors make over $14,000 US dollars per year. And this is the thing. So, if he made that much money, why wasn't he invited to the Cool Kids dinner?
Yeah.
And that Cool Kids dinner was $1,000 a seat
Yeah.
to go to a dinner that you had to be invited to.
Flow economy.
Of course. They said they were going to get a private jet, but something went wrong.
Yeah,
and they just took over a Jetstar flight. Rich people don't fly Jetstar. It's a shit airline.
Yeah, on the Jetstar Red Eye to Tokyo.
It's embarrassing. The only thing you can say, if you're being smart about this, is to say that smart rich people don't spend money, they save it, and they re-put it into their business, and that's why we flew Jetstar. Not, we were going to get a private jet, but the second best option was fucking Jetstar. The second best option is never Jetstar. The second best option is a fucking A380 through a reputable airline.
Yeah, it's
you
it's
psychotic
really not.
fucks. We're in business class. No, you're not.
It's not a pyramid scheme, folks. It's a trapezoid.
So look, realistically, to cover this properly, we'd do like a whole episode easily. We might do that. Like, I think
just find it so sickening. I find it so sickening to be mentioning Oneegs as often as we would have to in that circumstance.
Oh no, don't worry. The MLM goes way further than Oneegs.
I know, but that guy is just a fucking parasite.
He is a terrible, terrible human being. I can't even describe the absolute disdain I have for that individual. But if you want to hear about what a cunt that man is, go and visit Vexatious Litigant on your poison of choice, Twitter or Facebook. Easy as. They've covered the shit out of this. And Vaxi deserves a massive round of applause for the amount of time and work they've done on this. I can't.
Look, if you're not following Vexatious Litigant on Twitter, if that is your poison, your social media
or
poison,
Facebook,
or indeed Facebook,
they're really good at doing both.
You should get right on that. Excellent work,
right.
Not just in this MLM area, but wherever cookers cross the line with the legal fraternity as well.
It's just smart. It's just smart analysis. I can't speak
and not a lot of
enough
judgmental stuff either. It's just straight reporting.
If you want to laugh at cookers and give them shit, come to us. But if you want actual straight down the line, factual, good, objective analysis, it wouldn't surprise you if Vaxi was judge.
Vexatious Litigant. So that's a VAXATIOUS. Vexatious Litigant.
Yeah, all the time in the world.
We fired you. We sacked you. We dismissed you as what? As garbage, because that's all you are. You're a criminal. You're a traitor. And you're going to the biggest barbecue in history. So from Christmas dinner to you are the dinner.
Thank you. That's what I'll go with.
Now, this case first caught my eye when I heard reports of a man facing charges of domestic violence and hurling hydrochloric acid at members of Tasmania's Special Operations Group who break into his house to arrest him.
I think we'll give it credit where credit's due here quickly, which is that it was from Andrew, who we love very much, very good friend of the podcast.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Perpetual patron. And he brought this to our attention, who constantly sends us articles of very interesting things.
He does indeed, and we were following this one very closely as the trial extended over a couple of weeks. The trial of Daniel Gandini, who referred to himself as Diplomat Dan, kicked off at Burnie Courthouse in Tasmania, Supreme Court hearing. This was in June, and had a strong sense of sovcit nonsense about it. There certainly was. Gandini refused to answer to his name, so the Supreme Court justice there quite reasonably thought it sensible to simply refer to him as Dan. We got around it that way. Gandini represented himself at trial, always a bad look, and cross-examined police officers accusing them of acting under the Vienna Convention. Vienna.
That is my least favourite convention.
Well, the Vienna...
I fucking hate that convention. It's the worst.
It's really the kind of most benign convention you can think of. The Vienna Convention 1969 is described as the treaty of all treaties. It is a convention designed to provide a legal framework for all treaties signed since 1969 when the convention was created.
That is boring. I'm looking at the Wikipedia right now. Really I'm already
boring. It's not relevant to this case in any way.
I study law and my eyes are glazing over. No, I'm seeing some Latin here.
It's not relevant. to the case in any
No.
way. But the citing of it in evidence by Gandini certainly smacked of sovcits chicanery.
Well, on face value, it sounds pretty cool.
When asked by Gandini if he was in breach of the Vienna Convention, the startled cop in the box can only deny it. He must have wondered what the Vienna Convention? I haven't been to the Vienna Convention.
Yeah, when was it?
Yeah, 1969.
Well, I missed it. I was late.
I haven't even been to the mainland, let alone Vienna.
The Vienna Convention?
Gandini also claimed he was in, and I quote, the peaceful occupation of his home on July 8, 2021. It was a long
that
way
sounds
from
very
peaceful,
subsidy.
when police surrounded it in what he described as a siege.
Would it be
But on a
described by others as a siege, though?
It probably was a bit of a siege for a while.
Probably
we'll
was.
talk about the circumstances in a minute. But on a closer look, this was not really sovcit madness, although Gandini may have picked up a few of the amorphous group's language. And it's more a case of a man who is desperately mentally ill, subject to external influences, I gather, and who was abusive towards his wife over an extended period, and where that angst and anxiety and bad behaviour came to a sort of pinnacle when he was due to front court on a charge of driving while disqualified, and he feared losing his licence. And so this was the stress leading up to the event.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
A bit. He was under a bit of pressure.
Yeah. Well, the camel's back was already pretty fucked. That's why the straw broke it. I mean,
exactly.
If you got a good back, a straw isn't going to break it. I mean, that's a shit camel. Anyway, so Gandini's wife said that she'd suffered years of domestic abuse. But the DV on July 8, 2021 was a sort of low-level domestic violence. He'd thrown a glass of water on his wife, which is rude, and prodded her in the chest forcefully, which is also rude. And this was all in front of their two very young children, which is not...
3 and 5, yeah.
That's not role model material, bro.
Good. It's not good.
No. So Gandini's wife was also locked out of the house, where she contacted her husband's psychiatrist, who urged her to call the police because the psychiatrist knows what he's fucking talking about.
Gandini described his wife, the complainant, as hysterical. So when she contacted police, they said, does he have anything to do with explosives? And he said, well, he used to work in mines, and yes, he does have experience of explosives. And that's where things ratcheted up fairly quickly.
Yeah, okay.
And that's when the Special Operations Group was called.
When they thought, okay, there might be a fucking explosive involved.
Yeah, they were asking her questions.
Not good.
They were asking her questions about does he own fuel, or does he store fuel or fertilizer in the shed, because they know that whole farmer's trick is to use fertilizer with diesel and blow up tree stumps and stuff like that.
Yeah, isn't that like...
So they became very worried about him very quickly, and the Special Operations Group were summoned.
Mm-hmm.
And he took this...
rather badly?
Oh, well, he used this, or tried to use it, and claimed that she was basically had manufactured a bomb hoax. But police were just doing the risk assessment, and the risk assessment was this guy may have explosives on the premises.
So the jury heard the 000 call in which he said Gandini had previously said he would be ready for war if police ever came for him. That is very
it's confrontational
vibes.
You're not taking a backward
you know?
step there.
It's it's really it's coming across as some things we've seen recently in the sovcit violence that has been very unpleasant. The judge said the first police officer on the scene also determined he had access to explosive materials and experience in the mining industry. As you said, that is not good. I don't know what the materials were, diesel or fertilizer, who knows. But then subsequently, and unsurprisingly, a very large number of police, including the bomb response squad, special operations group officers, drone operators, and negotiators arrived at the scene to, I guess, create said siege, right?
Well, yeah, look, it was a siege in those sorts of terms, but, you've gone from having 2 police officers to having about 50 on and around the premises.
Not for a very
and it did become something of a siege, with Gandini refusing to come outside and fearing that he did have explosives on the property. Taspol's Special Operations Group was summoned to Gandini's Port Sorel home. They entered the property wearing protective clothing, shields, goggles and helmets. And were doused in hydrochloric acid, and a number of them suffered minor injuries, including one who described getting some of it in his eye. I mean, bear in mind they were wearing goggles, but someone had seeped through into his eye and caused a great deal of pain.
That's a lot of acid.
And their uniforms actually melted on contact with the acid before finally
so that's like
Gandini was arrested. So Chief Justice Blow of the Tasmanian Supreme Court considered the crimes against the four police officers to be serious and that it was significant that they were simply doing their duty in attempting to arrest Gandini. Justice Blow's judgment in part reads, Joel.
All right. It is clear that Dan was suffering from some form of mental disorder or abnormality that had a significant impact on his conduct on the days when these crimes were committed. He had very strong views about his right to exclude visitors from his property and his right not to speak to police if they tried to contact him, and about the police. He appears to have been in fear for his safety all day on 8th of July. I did not order a psychiatric report because I see no need to inform myself as to the appropriate diagnosis or the current severity of his condition or abnormality. I am satisfied that his mental functioning at the relevant times was impaired as a result of some sort of disorder or abnormality to such an extent that his moral culpability for his offending conduct was substantially reduced. Yeah, that's where you get the lower sentence. However, I do not see this as a case where imprisonment is likely to have a significant adverse effect on Dan's mental health. It is likely that during any period in prison, he will receive appropriate treatment and his mental health will improve. Very fucking optimistic.
Yeah,
Justice
it's a little
Blow.
bit optimistic, but I also
And
think
very
this
fucking
guy
lenient.
needs to be removed from the community for a period of time.
Oof,
He made his
yes.
own sentencing submissions, of course. Gandini maintained he had never intended to hurt anyone. What? Throwing acid?
Yeah.
And asked the
Yeah,
judge to
right.
consider a lenient sentence such as community services. It's not when you're representing yourself in sentencing. Oh, well, you know, gee, I think community service would really make me have a good hard look at myself, Your Honour.
Shoot for the stars, Gandhi. He said, I quote, I just hope that whatever you intend to give me is not going to be so severe that it will be detrimental to me trying to move on and rebuild my life. Yeah, all right. So Gandini was convicted and sentenced to 3 years, 6 months jail for the 6 charges. But with time served, he may be out of jail as early as October.
Yeah. So no scoreboard today. I found this case to be a very sad one. Domestic violence, mental illness, sort of paranoia, and a man who had pushed himself into a corner and then did unspeakably dangerous things. The judge was lenient and treated him kindly, referring to him simply as Dan to avoid any friction during the trial. I genuinely hope this man can make amends, reconnect with his children and find some meaning and purpose with his life. Throwing acid at coppers is horrific and he definitely deserved jail. But I don't know that he was a sovcit. He did have a number of supporters, I think 2 in court, and I got the sense early on that it was a larger group, and I thought maybe there's some sovcit nuttery going on here, and maybe there was that sort of streak of influence from the darker corners of the internet. But overall, yeah, he just developed, you know, this sort of nonsense himself. The Vienna Convention, well, we'll never forget that. You know, I've never heard of sovcits talk about the Vienna Convention. So he'd sort of grabbed that
sounds very
somehow.
sovcit, but also not.
There was obviously something in the background there. There's, you know, we're talking about influences, and I'm happy to have a broader discussion, perhaps at a later time. But what we've found just in the last few weeks in Australia is that the greatest cohort of people who come to the attention of counter-terrorism investigations in this country are in an age group 12 to 16.
Yeah, that's unfolding.
And that is, and it is really, really unpleasant. And of course, if we go to an event where like we had this week, where a young student was stabbed, and we say, okay, the actions are appalling, allegedly, but who's doing the influencing? I mean, and this is why I get really annoyed with the police when they start talking about this in a sort of esoteric way. Let's find out. Tell us where he was spending his time on the internet,
and let's go fucking slap them.
Yeah, and let's get a bit harder about the people who are causing this influence. I guarantee you, they're not 12 and 16-year-old or 12 to 16-year-old kids. I guarantee you there are adults who know what they are doing in manipulating young people who are vulnerable, might be suffering mental illness. Let's find out who these people are. If it's overseas, so let's establish that. If it's local groups,
let's cooperate. Let's
find out who it is. It's kind of why we do what we do. The tinfoil tales people do it for are similarly motivated, because it's not often the people like Gandini who actually do commit harm and commit crimes. It's the people who influence them to the point where they commit crimes. They're the ones we need to be looking at.
And unfortunately, we're in competition with Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is monetizing people like Andrew Tate to spout this shit and poison the minds of young men and make them into cunts.
He got a check for $70,000 or something off Twitter.
His Twitter is monetized. And Elon Musk, someone did an experiment with an Andrew tweet.
Some dodgy charity. Well, some dodgy self-created charity,
money funneling. But Tate did a tweet with the N-word, the blah blahs and everything else. And someone else posted that tweet, and it was immediately flagged by Twitter's content moderation, which means that it seems like a no-brainer that Andrew Tate has been given a free pass on Twitter's content moderation by Elon Musk.
Oh, well,
if it's a commercial decision or ideological decision, I don't actually give a fuck. The end result is the same. You are radicalizing children and you're a fucking piece of shit. But it's very difficult to wage war on the richest man on earth, who just got an extra $60 billion from a fucking trade deal in his at Tesla, because if he didn't get that money, he wouldn't stay CEO of the company. So good luck to us. I mean, honestly, I just don't know how progressive politics and decent human beings and basic decency is going to win.
Well, just forget about progressive politics. Forget about left and right for a moment. Just basic fundamental human decency.
Just decency. Just Andrew Tate's not left or right. He's a cunt. And Elon Musk is backing him with billions of dollars of collateral. I don't know what to do about that.
It's the free speech absolutism argument goes out the window. I mean, he is
when you monetize it, it's gone.
Yeah, that's right. Because he is basically providing emphasis on one particular form of speech rather than others,
amplifying and funding a certain form of speech where the harm is a part of the allure, and it is all a product. That is unforgivable. I mean, unfucking forgivable.
This guy's got warrants for his arrest in the UK for rape. This guy's currently being charged and going through a long process. The Romanian court's probably not all that dissimilar to the ones in Australia, but it's taking a long time. But he's been charged there with essentially creating an organised crime group around
sex trafficking.
Around sex trafficking, yeah.
Trafficking women, forcing them to do sexual acts for money.
When you behave like that.
And these are the fucking guys who are saying that sex trafficking is the biggest evil in the world. But one of their fucking guys who turns out to be this edgelord fucking racist, now they're fucking best mates with him. I can't even begin. Anyway, we are on a massive tangent. It's time for
this.
Pete. It has been a huge week in Pete Evans with the disgraced former celebrity, now turned conspiracist pizza cook dickhead, undergoing a shock rebrand. Thanks so much to the Daily Mail for that one.
It's not getting better at the Daily Mail, is it? It's really not getting better at the Daily Mail.
Everyone's died suddenly at this point. It's pathetic. And on the way to rebranding himself as a social media influencer. Pete didn't say that. The Daily Mail did.
They did.
I don't think Pete believes that for a second, to be honest. He's a cunt, but he's not that much of a cunt. Now,
we can't call him a celebrity chef anymore because he's not that either.
Well,
he's not,
former.
You can't use the word celebrity around Pete Evans because he's certainly not celebrated. And he's a long way from famous.
Well, we will certainly get to that because I know what you're thinking.
Right.
This is the issue. You've picked up on this quite. You are very adroit. To be a social media influencer, you need to have a social media presence. You need to have some kind of power here. Well, since
generally be young and pretty.
Well, he was, and he had 1 million followers. He had 1 million followers on Facebook, get 1 million followers on Instagram. That's a lot. Probably a lot of overlap, but who cares? It's pretty fucking hard to say the 42,000 followers he has on Telegram, of course, of which 6,000 are actually active. Yes, I've checked it. That he really commands a platform of what you would call great influence. I mean,
it's not a lot. It's not a lot.
I'm close to that. But the Daily Mail are convinced Pete is back. And he's about to sell us some shit.
Yeah, I reckon.
Now, No, well, I'll fuck you. Oh, don't worry. By the end of this, you'll be pulling out your credit card and buying some fucking product.
I don't
Now,
think so.
since Pete lost all his endorsements, except for the water filter company, of course, and also the essential oils MLM, with a surprising number of Nazi sympathizers in the ranks, I will never forget the comment section when the essential oils company took him off as a ambassador, and they're all like, "It's fine," and half of them are like, "You know what? Hitler wasn't bad," and the other half are like, "I'm sure he doesn't like Hitler," and you're like, I don't know which half.
You've got to have smooth skin for Gotterdammerung.
Yeah, it's real fucking bad. So look,
The Red Army's on the doorstep. What you need to do is just get some essential
Oh no, these are
oils.
oils you sniff and they make you more creative.
Oh,
or
it's
more
an
useful,
aromatherapy thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it's aromatherapy thing. Yeah. But good shot. I liked it. Look, he's been a bit quiet in the spruik, and let's face it, he would sell face cream if they gave him a fucking chance. But of course, being a Nazi does have an issue with that. Outside of this sort of incredibly overpriced starvation retreats he does run, which is doing quite well, yet he is selling the property. Anyway, look, he's back promoting products as God intended. Thank you, Daily Mail. We needed this.
We all know that Pete is no fan of sunscreen, and so he doesn't like the nanoparticles. That,
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
He's got a bit of a skin cream thing going on there.
They give you if he's got skin cream, don't buy it because he's a wrinkled fucking fig. That man does not look his age.
The face looks like an old footy.
It's a tan
Sharon.
sphincter. I'm telling you right now, that is not something to look forward to. But look, there is more than just slip, slop, slap to sunscreen. To be truly sun smart, you need a good pair of sunnies.
True.
Now, while Pete isn't interested in handing over the banana boat, he's more than happy to push propaganda from big sunglass to protect your eyes when you're out tanning Uranus or talking to yourself in a sunlit field.
Oh, okay. So the skin doesn't need to be protected, but the eyes do. Okay.
The eyes do. The
I
eyes
got it,
do.
I got it.
But you got to ditch your A-bands, mate. Throw your Oakleys in the bin where they fucking belong. That Italian-made trash has no place in this house. There is only one sunglass brand good enough for a cooker who doesn't mind a gander directly at the sun, which Pete is a big fan of. You just got to stare at the sun. It's no problem. It's fine. Don't worry. But I tell you what makes it more safe: Panda Eyes sunglasses.
What?
And they're mates. Yeah, Panda Eyes sunglasses.
It's a thing?
I think you might have made a double take there. I think a few of you made a bit of double take there. I'm not kidding. The brand is called Panda Eyes. Now, for those who didn't just reel in horror, knowing exactly what I'm fucking talking about, Panda Eyes has a bit of a double meaning. And no, it's not to do with mascara. You're not waking up after a big night in the tiles and having a bit of an issue with your black face. No, it's a bit of a trigger warning here, folks.
Your eye makeup.
If you want to bow out here, maybe do so, because the concept of Panda Eyes is not a family-friendly thing. So if you're a bit sensitive, maybe switch off here, because Panda Eyes is a Q-adjacent term that is meant to describe the blackening around the eyes of children who have been severely sexually abused. This is a massive Q trope. It's also meant to be a huge symbolism thing where, for example, QAnon whipping girl Lady Gaga, who is in certain pictures, wearing black makeup.
I've seen that.
That's said to be her celebrating the phenomenon of Panda Eyes because, of course, they think that. You can't possibly just have black eye makeup on because that would be weird, right? Yeah.
Alice Cooper's in a lot of fucking trouble.
Alice Cooper is definitely... Yeah, I'm not even going to say anything because I don't want to besmirch the good man's name. But, that is... They would think that. God, they're annoying. Anyway.
Gene Simmons. Anyway.
I'm glad I haven't seen that in public. But they put her image alongside images of children where the image implies that they've been sexually assaulted to the point of physical reaction. The reality is, in this picture that I'm quoting, it was a young girl from Gaza in 2014 who suffered a traumatic injury from an Israeli artillery barrage. And that's the kind of shit the cookers do. You know, I don't think I need to explain why using this young girl to push conspiracy theories is completely fucked in the head, but I'm sure you are all used to cuckoos having absolutely no humanity whatsoever in situations like this, and if it's any consolation to you whatsoever, the child actually survived, but now has to live with the fact that she is now the poster girl for fictitious satanic child abuse. Who does that?
That's
You
fucked
just-
up. That is fucked up.
Shame on you, you fucking... Anyway,
this is not
obviously
Pete.
Panda Eyes is bullshit. No. This is Pete's world we're talking about here, because if you think Pete is separate from this, oh, he's not. So obviously Panda Eyes is bullshit. What Cookers suggest causes Panda Eyes does not in fact cause Panda Eyes. But this is a common Cooker trope, and honestly, I have no idea how Pete, who's no stranger to Cooker tropes, didn't know about this. Maybe he did. Either way, seeing Pete pop back up in the news as some kind of piss-weak sunglasses promoter is fine. But the moment I saw the brand was called Panda Eyes, oh man, that's not good. Because the symbolism will be their downfall, right? So as per usual, nobody in the conspiracy universe seems to give a fuck about this, despite the fact that this is being an actual nod to something that are continually suggesting alludes to child abuse, where others like Gaga are making tribute to this horrific industry of sexual assault on children. But Pete likes Trump and he likes Bitcoin and he sells water filters, so we can't be angry at him. Even if he's promoting actual panda fucking eye sunglasses.
What, actual
Oh
pandas?
my God.
Actual pandas.
Panda eyes. Panda eyes. Their symbolism will be their downfall, folks. They say, well, yeah, only if you're progressive, because they're all pedophiles, right?
Yeah.
It's fine when they do it. Not a problem at all. Fucking come on.
You have been listening to the Conditional Release program with your host, Jack the Insider, Joel Hill. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. And if you've enjoyed our bullshit, throw us a 5-star review on your podcast app.
Jack can be found on Twitter on @JackTheInsider and Joel on @CrunchyMoses with a K. We hate Twitter, but we're still kind of there. We'll set up a Facebook page you can find fairly easily. It's the shitposting group, Conditional Release Program, shitposting group. Come join. It'll be great. Promoting a podcast is easier said than done, so please share this episode on social media or somewhere, or just tell your uncle. I don't give a fuck. Just expand.
Just around the dinner table. People still do that.
Just tell
don't they?
people.
I mean,
Just
I
tell
don't,
people stuff.
But, you know, anyway, the Patreon is
Send
up
links.
and running, and we ask listeners to consider throwing a few dollars our way.
For as little as $5 a month, you'll have access to all sorts of bonus content, and you'll feel warm and fuzzy for helping us out. Please keep the lights on. It does help. And for those who are already subscribed, thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
so fucking great.
Thank you.
Love you.
And finally, all feedback, tips, and death threats should be sent to the Conditional Release Program @gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, even if it's to invite us to some Polish restaurant to celebrate Hitler's birthday. Got a damarang, motherfuckers.
Oh, you got to imagine the wait staff turning up and being like, I don't know about this.
Feeding Nazis
that
tonight.
swastika. Maybe we'll just turn that swastika cake around and maybe
Would you
it'll
like,
become
would you like a
Hindu at
knife
some
to
point.
cut that swastika cake?
Maybe that's what they're doing. They're angrily cutting the swastika in anger. Maybe that's the brilliant justice. No, it's not, guys.
Well,
Don't ever
give, if you're really upset about this, listeners, give Serena, Polish House, a call and say, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah, I think that's a really reasonable thing, especially if you're Polish and especially from Victoria. But what the fuck, guys? Yeah. Anyway, thanks, listeners. Really appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
I don't think I ever want to talk to any of those people.
Fuck me, you guys are bastards.